Not all control looks like yelling. Not all manipulation looks like drama. The most dangerous kind? It sounds like care. It feels like love. But it drains your energy, breaks your instincts, and turns you into someone you barely recognize. Control isn't always loud. Sometimes it comes in the softest voice, the most gentle eyes, the warmest hug. You thought you were being loved. But love doesn't make you smaller. It doesn't make you afraid to speak. It doesn't leave you doubting yourself at 2 a.m., replaying conversations that felt wrong but sounded right. The truth? Some people don't break you directly. They train you to break yourself. Slowly. Silently. Subtly. This video will uncover 5 psychological ways women, consciously or unconsciously, manipulate and control. You won't need to guess anymore. You'll see the game for what it is. Number 1. Sex as currency. Intimacy is supposed to be a connection, a space where trust, energy, and emotion come together naturally. But in a manipulative dynamic, intimacy stops being connection. It becomes a transaction. At first, the affection feels real. The attraction is mutual. It's playful, open, flowing. You feel wanted, not because you earned it, but because she desired you. That's how it should be. But over time, something shifts. Suddenly, when you disagree with her, when you say no, when you don't give her what she wants, she withdraws. No kisses, no touch, no eye contact. Her body becomes a bargaining chip, a reward for your obedience. You start noticing patterns. When you agree with her, she's warm. When you hold your ground, she's cold. Now you're not just thinking about the argument. You're worried about what it might cost you later that night. You begin negotiating your truth for the possibility of closeness. And that's where you lose yourself. You start changing your tone to avoid friction. You start keeping things to yourself, just to keep the peace. You start performing, not leading, all in the hope that she'll let you feel loved again. And slowly, without realizing it, your masculinity becomes conditional. That is not intimacy. That's behavior control. Because when someone only gives you affection when you comply, they are not giving you love. They are renting it to you. And the cost? Your power, your integrity, your voice. You become like a trained dog. Do what she wants, you get a treat, resist, and you're ignored, punished, or pushed away. This dynamic teaches you that love must be earned through sacrifice. But what it really does is kill attraction. Because real connection isn't built on submission. It's built on polarity, truth meeting truth, power meeting presence. And here's the red pill truth no one wants to say out loud. If someone is only sexual when they get their way, they are not emotionally safe. They are strategic. They are controlling you through your biology. They know what you crave, and they're using it as leverage. The solution? Stop rewarding manipulation with compliance. Stop sacrificing your standards just to feel desired for a moment. And stop believing that temporary pleasure equals lasting connection. A healthy person doesn't withhold love as punishment. They communicate, they express, they stay intimate even during disagreement, because love doesn't pause when ego gets bruised. If sex is only present when you're obedient, then you're not in a relationship. You're in a performance contract, and your worth is being calculated by how fast you bend. Walk away from that deal. Because nothing that demands your silence in exchange for affection is ever worth keeping. Number 2. Guilt as a weapon. Guilt is one of the quietest, most effective forms of control. It doesn't scream, it whispers. And it whispers in ways that make you feel like you're the villain, even when you've done nothing wrong. You cancel plans because you're exhausted. She sighs, goes silent, and replies with a cold, "It's fine." But it's not fine. And you feel it. She's not arguing. She's punishing you emotionally without saying a word. Now your mind starts calculating how to avoid disappointing her next time. That's how control begins. Over time, you start moving around her moods, not your own needs. You begin living for her emotional approval. And that, right there, is the leash. Here's the truth. People who love you don't guilt you into submission. They speak their truth. They hold space for yours. If someone consistently makes you feel bad for setting boundaries, they're not caring for you. They're controlling you. Stop asking, "Did I mess up?" Start asking, "Why do I feel responsible for how they react to my boundaries?" Number 3. Gaslighting and reality manipulation. Gaslighting doesn't begin with manipulation. It begins with doubt. Doubt in your memory. Doubt in your perception. Doubt in your voice. You raise an issue. She twists it. You recall a moment. She says it never happened. You speak up. She says you're too sensitive. Over time, you start questioning your own instincts. You begin apologizing for things you didn't even do. That's what gaslighting is. It's not about making you angry. It's about making you confused. Because confusion is the perfect breeding ground for control. You lose your grip on reality. You stop trusting yourself. And eventually, the only version of the truth that feels safe is hers. Reclaiming your clarity begins with this. If something felt wrong, it was. Your emotions don't lie. Don't let words override what your body already knows. Start writing things down. Document conversations. Reflect from distance. Protect your truth, even if it's uncomfortable. Because if someone needs you to doubt yourself to stay close to them, they're not your partner, they're your captor. Number 4, playing the victim for power. This one is ruthless. You finally speak your mind. You tell your truth. You draw a line. And instead of pushback, she collapses. She cries, shakes, breaks down. Now you feel like the abuser for finally saying something honest. She doesn't need to argue. She only needs to hurt visibly. Because now, instead of defending your boundary, you're defending your character. You're not standing your ground. You're wiping her tears. This is emotional inversion, where the real victim becomes the villain, and the real manipulator wears the mask of the wounded. It's powerful, it's effective, and it traps you into self-censorship. The only antidote? Hold your frame. When tears fall at the exact moment you show strength, pause. Breathe. Don't chase. Don't apologize for your clarity. Emotional expression doesn't always equal emotional truth. If speaking your needs breaks someone, that connection was never solid to begin with. Number 5, financial and emotional hostage tactics. Control also hides in giving. In the "I did this for you." In the unspoken contracts tied to every favor, gift, or moment of support. You owe me. That's the unspoken message. You'd do this if you really cared. That's how freedom becomes debt. You didn't ask for the favor, but now you owe. You didn't beg for help, but now you're in chains. And any resistance is now labeled as betrayal. When love becomes leverage, it's not love anymore. It's emotional blackmail wrapped in kindness. People who give without agenda don't keep receipts. They don't pull out the past every time you say no. They don't use generosity to buy obedience. If every time you set a boundary, someone brings up what they've done for you, that's not partnership. That's hostage negotiation. You don't owe anyone your voice, your energy, or your life just because they showed up when you needed them once. Number 6, psychological checkout points. This is the most important one. You can't afford to zone out. This is the part no one talks about. The phase after the damage is done. Not when you're fighting, not when you're confused, but when you're numb. You're not crying anymore. You're not even angry. You're just disconnected. You've stopped arguing. You've stopped trying to explain yourself. You don't even react when something feels wrong. You just adapt. You adjust. You shrink. This is psychological checkout, the final symptom of silent control. You wake up tired, not from lack of sleep, but from carrying emotional weight that was never yours. You overthink simple decisions. You walk on eggshells without realizing it. You say sorry for things you didn't do, just to avoid her silence. You pretend you're fine because you don't want the fight. And worst of all, you begin to forget who you were before her. You stop spending time with people who care about you. You avoid your passions. You keep your phone close, not because you're excited to hear from her, but because you're scared of what happens if you don't respond fast enough. Your entire nervous system becomes addicted to her emotional temperature. You no longer ask, "What do I want today?" You ask, "What mood is she in today? And how do I adjust?" That's not love, that's survival. And survival mode isn't sustainable. It destroys your clarity. It reprograms your identity. And it kills the parts of you that used to shine. People think the hardest part of manipulation is the conflict. The hardest part is when there's no conflict, because you've already surrendered your voice. You're no longer living, you're just managing someone else's emotional landscape. That's not partnership, that's imprisonment. But here's the truth: if you feel this, if any part of this sounds like your reality, it means you're still awake. It means there's still a version of you inside that remembers what peace felt like, what freedom felt like, what self-respect felt like. And that part of you? It's your way out. You don't need a breakdown to reclaim yourself. You only need a decision, a moment of brutal honesty. A commitment to never again trade your authenticity for someone else's comfort. This is your invitation to choose yourself again, fully, unapologetically, and without permission. Because if love costs you your identity, it's not love, it's a leash. Now, here's the key takeaway that ties everything together. Control isn't always screaming. Sometimes it's a soft voice with sharp claws. It looks like love. It feels like care. But it eats your confidence and silences your truth. You don't need to hate the person who did it. But you do need to free yourself from the grip of emotional manipulation. Speak less. Observe more. Don't explain your boundaries. Enforce them. Don't ask for freedom. Take it back. Because when you stop letting people pull strings behind your kindness, you become unshakable. If this video brought light to a dark part of your past, support this mission. Subscribe if you're done with emotional cages and ready to reclaim your voice. Comment which of these patterns you've seen and how it changed you. Share this with someone still trapped in the illusion of love that hurts. Like to help these words reach the people who feel invisible, confused, and controlled. Supporting this channel means making these insights visible to the silent sufferers, the emotional prisoners, and the ones who are ready to rise. Let's lead with clarity. Let's love with truth. Let's never lose ourselves again.